You're listening to the Savvy Social Podcast, the show for budding entrepreneurs who want to understand the how and the why of social media marketing. I'm your host, Andrea Jones. Let's get started. How exactly does SEO work, and what does it have to do with social media? We're going to talk about that and more in today's episode of the Savvy Social Podcast. We're on episode number 40, you guys. This episode is brought to you by Social Report, which is the world's most complete social media management tool and our tool of choice at onlinedrea.com and socialmediaforpodcast.com. You can try it out for yourself for free by going to socialreport.com. It's a free 30-day trial. I will also have the link for you in the show notes. Now, today's guest expert is Meg Clarke, and she's the owner and founder of Clapping Dog Media, where she is a master at growing organic traffic. By using data, proven techniques, and years of experience, Meg and her team help to turn web visitors into raving fans that stick around. Meg is a passionate cheerleader for businesses. She teaches entrepreneurs how they can harness the power of Google so that they can make a larger impact on the world. Now, at the end of today's interview, Meg has an exclusive offer for those of you listening to the Savvy Social Podcast. You can sign up for one of her SEO Made Simple masterclasses and get $25 off if you use the coupon code OnlineDrea. That's OnlineDrea for $25 off. The next masterclass that's coming up is all about SEO and social media. So we touch on that topic a little bit in this podcast, but you may want to sign up for the masterclass, which is happening April 25th of 2019. All right, let's dive into the interview. All right, welcome, Meg. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk to you because I just have some natural curiosities about SEO and everything in that space. But let's start at the beginning. How did you start your business, Clapping Dog Media?
Great. Well, I went to school to be a web designer and graphic designer, and I worked in industry for, several years until my husband and I started to have children. And our first two kids are adopted. And so that's a whole process. And when you when we brought our boys home, they're Ugandan. When we brought them home, we were not in a position where I could go back to work and leave them with another caregiver. So we weren't really sure how it was going to work and how they were going to be. But it was pretty apparent that I needed to quit work as soon as we got back from Uganda and just be a full-time mom for a while. So that's exactly what I did. I quit, I hung out, I learned how to play Legos and Play-Doh and make Play-Doh and all that stuff. And so then we had another son, so we have three boys. And after my third son was born, it was probably 6 to 8 months where I was like dying to do something for myself and to do something creative and also to make money because 3 kids is expensive. And so I started just doing web design for friends. And, I was in this generation where, well, we all are, where there's so many women who have one life and then they have kids and then they're trying to build a second life or a second career. And so I was really able to, since I was doing that, I worked with a lot of my friends and acquaintances who were, who were starting a side hustle and needed a website. And so I did that for a couple of years and it was super helpful. It was just very referral based. But I got to a point where I was working for a really good friend of mine who I had known for many years, and she really needed her side hustle to work. They were in a financial, her and her family were in financial straits, and she was super talented and she needed her business to work. So I created a beautiful website for her. She has great services. They were well priced, but she didn't get any traffic. And I was heartbroken and completely nervous and really sad for her. And I really, I knew that the site was good and that she was good and her products were good. We just needed to get traffic. And so it was her site that really pushed me over the edge to figure out analytics and SEO and how like I developed and designed the site improperly for Google. And I really used her as an experiment. And once, it took a while, but once we got traffic flowing to her, I was able to apply it to all of the sites I had previously done. And then everybody was making money. And so that was really wonderful. And I decided that this is a really important part of our online space. And there was not a lot of, and I want to say this in the most respectful way, but there was not a lot of people who are making SEO relatable and actionable. It seems to be a very intimidating space. And so I wanted to kind of pioneer my own way and make SEO available and accessible and understandable for all of us who are just, really wanting to make this second career work.
Yeah. And, I love some of the things that you said when you were like talking about how you got started just with friends and family. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to and that's how they got started. And so sometimes you don't need to have all the fancy bells and whistles in place if you can just get started doing something. Sometimes I think that's better because then you can feel it out and be like, oh, this worked, this didn't, or I really liked this, or I didn't want to do that. All of those things are, I think, important elements of business building.
Absolutely. I think there is, I think people do need to be prepared, but you really just need, the biggest lesson is just to start doing. And then you can kind of figure out who you want to work for and how you like to work and what your packages should look like. But if you think about that in the beginning without having actual work, it's just a guess. You don't really know until you actually start working. And so the best people to start with are the people that are going to forgive you the most.
That's true. That's a good way to put it. Like the most forgiving because they know you.
Yeah. I'm really sorry, but and people who know our family situation, because at the time my husband and I were married for like 10 years before we had kids, and then we had 3 boys in 18 months. So I was so overwhelmed, and so people who were, when I was late or tired, they understood because they understood what my family situation was like because they're friends.
Yeah, that definitely works out. And then I really liked what you said about finding a way to help people make money. And one of my mentors, Afton Negre, I'll give her a shout out. She really imparted that knowledge on me when I first started. If you can help your clients find a way to make money, then it's harder to replace you. It's harder to dismiss you, sort of thing. So she calls it embedding yourself into their business. And I think that's something that you found with SEO when you started off doing websites, and you were like, hey, this is great, this is beautiful, but we need more people looking at this. And you found a way to do that, which is, I think, very impactful. So I'd like to take a minute and talk a little bit about SEO. I love that you said it's relatable, because sometimes it does sound like you try to make it relatable because it does sound like this thing out there that we know we should do.
Right.
So for our listeners, can you tell us what SEO is and how we can leverage it to grow our businesses?
Absolutely. SEO is an acronym that stands for Search Engine Optimization. And basically, it's getting clients or being found by Google. There are 4 billion Google searches a day. And that stat probably is about 3 months old, so it's probably more than that now. And that tells me that there are people who are looking for your services. They're looking for your business. They're in your area. They just need you, but they can't find you. And so SEO is that missing piece that helps you be found for what you want to be known for, so that the people who are in a position of looking for you and wanting to buy your services can find you. It's a proactive way to be found by people who want to buy you. So that is what SEO is. And it does have this bad rap for being really technical and changing a lot and really expensive. And there's a little bit of truth in all of that. But the thing that I kind of harp on with my clients and the people that I like to teach about, good SEO is good business.
Okay, so I love how you explained that, because it really makes a lot of sense. Proactively having our perfect people find our website. So how does it work technically? Like, can you give us one or two things we can do to our websites today that will help people find us?
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great question. And we will start with kind of the technical side of things. One of the very first things that the Google robots or the Google bots or the spiders or whatever you want to call them, but the little feelers that Google sends out to your website, one of the very first things that they do is look for a sitemap. And a sitemap is what we tell Google to expect on your site. It's a way that we build trust and authority with Google. So if you have a sitemap that say, let's have 10 pages on it, and so Google's like, okay, this is what I can expect. So then when they go to crawl your site, if you have 300 pages, there's a lack of trust established there because what you say is on your site and then what is on your site are not in alignment. And so Google's like, well, how am I supposed to crawl all these pages? I didn't even know they existed. So one of the very first things that you can do is make sure that you have a sitemap, a dynamic sitemap built. And if you're using WordPress, the best way to do that is to use Yoast. Yoast will automatically, it's a plugin, it will automatically create a dynamic sitemap for you. And so every time you add a page, it's going to update the sitemap. Squarespace also does automatic sitemaps as well. Sometimes you need to check on them to make sure that they continue to stay updated, but they will do it automatically for you.
Oh, good to know. I'm going to put Yoast in the show notes so that, and then that's for WordPress, right? So
that is a WordPress plugin.
Okay, perfect. So anyone who has WordPress, I'll put the link to Yoast so you can check it out.
Perfect. And so that's the very first thing. But then the second thing that I look for all the time, and there's always just a misalignment with clients, is people say they want to be XYZ, and then you go to their site, and maybe the title and the headlines of their pages don't reflect who they say they are. So really making sure that the title of your site, which is the next thing that Google looks at, is reflective of who you want to be. And so, for example, the title of my site is Empowering Creative Entrepreneurs with SEO. So it tells me, it's very quickly for me to tell Google what I'm about so they know where to put me in their memory of sorts. So going through and making sure that your titles, the headlines on your pages, and the categories that are on your blog are all reflective of what you want to be known for. Like, for example, I don't have a category on my site for dinner because what I cook for dinner has nothing to do with empowering creatives with SEO. So I want to make sure that everything is in alignment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fascinating. Yeah, I think that's a really important thing because I know even for myself, I created my website 5 years ago. Probably should go in and check out that title to make sure it's updated.
That's right. That's exactly right. Because that's how Google's goal is. They're for you, and they want to provide the best answer for the people who are searching as quickly as possible. So if you can make it easy for them to understand who you are, who you serve, and what you do, they're going to just reward you with that. So that because they don't have time to crawl the depths of your site all the time. You have to make it easy for Google. And just like you have to make it easy for your customers, like you can quickly and easily, if people can quickly and easily understand what your site is about within 5 seconds, you're not only helping Google, but you're also helping your users because just like Google doesn't have a long attention span, neither do people on the web.
Yeah. Oh, very true. And speaking of short attention spans, let's talk about social media. I know we all on social media have kind of like minute by minute we're scrolling through our feeds. But so let's talk about how social media and SEO are connected because I know there's some things that we can do to enhance one or the other. So how are they really related to each other?
Oh, they're indirectly related, but they're so important to each other. I'll try to limit my answer to only 3 or 4 examples, but the One of the first things is when Google crawls your site and they look for your brand, they look to understand what your brand is. They look to see other places on the internet where your brand is also growing. So I don't recommend that you get on all the social medias, but to have one or two that you're really committed to and you're really consistent to, because as your following, say on Instagram, grows and your engagement grows, Google's going to make that connection of your brand growing across the internet. So that is super important. Now, and the next thing is, social media is an amazing way to get links back to your site. So if you are posting on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and you use like Linktree, which is a tool that you can use in your Instagram profile to bring links back to your site, you're going to get more traffic. You're going to be connected to other brands that provide authority for your brand because they're linking to you. And you're just going to get more traffic because everybody's on social media.
Oh, I love that. So when it comes to social media, is there anything we can do to optimize like the traffic that we're driving from social media to our websites?
Yes. One of the things that I highly recommend, and I often see this not taking place, is people kind of view them as their website and social media as kind of two different things. And so when they have something exciting going on their website, they don't necessarily put that on social media and link back to their website. I see social media as a way to make you appear normal and human and give you a good behind the scenes of your business, but also to drive traffic back to your website, because that's where people will convert. That's what people will read and all about you. They'll binge read you if they like you on social media. You just need to drive your social media traffic back to your website.
Very interesting. Yeah, I like that because I'm always trying to help my students and listeners and clients understand the value of sharing what you do on social media. Even something simple like occasionally sharing your about page and reminding people what you're all about. Those are really great ways to use social media, and it helps out with the SEO and everything, all the good stuff.
Yes, it sure does. And on my social media, I definitely post on Instagram, for example, maybe once or twice a month. I'll post maybe what my kids are doing or like a funny quote. So it's not all business all the time. I want people to get an understanding of my personality. But 3 out of 5 days a week, I'm posting a tip, how you can work with me, a case study, or some sort of SEO tip, because I really want my followers and Google to understand that my core is SEO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's another good reason to promote yourself, like to make sure that your messaging from your website to your social is all talking about the same topics so that Google can kind of lump them all together.
That's right.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about your social media. I know you're on Instagram and you're starting to kind of get on YouTube as well. So can you share with us some success stories or some powerful moments that you've had on social media?
Yes. Well, I could talk about Instagram all day long. My favorite thing about Instagram are these direct messages. I get several direct messages from like my Insta stories mainly, where people have reached out to me and it produces real work because they see me talking about SEO. They understand that I'm not kind of a creepy crawly person who doesn't share information. I think they kind of connect with my personality, and then they totally reach out to me. So just this week, yesterday, I had one of like my dream business owners who I didn't know really even know me or followed me, reached out to me on Instagram and wanted to do some sort of collaboration. And I was like, absolutely, I don't even care what you want me to do. I'll do whatever you want because you're so cool. So that is a huge win for me. And then like you said, I am trying to put some trainings up on YouTube, just short, quick, 5 to 7 minutes videos about SEO because I can refer back to, like, when I talk about something on Instagram, I immediately send them to go to YouTube to learn more about it. So I've really enjoyed that.
Okay.
Although, like I said, YouTube is hard.
Yeah, YouTube is hard. But I want to go back to something you said because I think it's very powerful. When you have a YouTube video, you talk about the same topic on Instagram and you lead to that video. Such a good strategy because I think sometimes we actually spread ourselves too thin by creating too much content. And what you're essentially doing is taking one idea and creating multiple pieces of content that probably have a lot of crossover to each other, right?
That's exactly what I'm doing. And I know you teach this as well, but we as a people are very self-focused. And so we are really thinking most of the time about us and our own business. So even as we're flipping through Instagram, for example, we can see people and their message, but we don't really remember what they talked about 2 or 3 posts ago. And so I think it's really, really important to stick to your message and over and over and over, because in your head, you're annoying yourself because that's like the only thing you ever talk about, but your audience doesn't get that. Your audience is not annoyed by your same message. They actually want to know what your message is. What is it that you do? Like, how can they lump you in a category so that when they need to refer back to an SEO or a social media strategist, they're like, oh yeah, Drea only talks about social media. She's my go-to girl. So I think it's super important to have one message, have it on your blog, have it on your social, and have it on video, and that be your thing. All of those platforms have a different kind of grouping of followers and people, and I want to reach them all. So I have one message for all platforms.
Yes, I love it. I really probably should take that as a soundbite and share it out everywhere so everyone can hear it, because that's one of the struggles that my students have oftentimes, especially my students who are very sensitive or introverted or something like that. We feel like we're maybe being a little bit repetitive, or we're a little bit shy about talking about ourselves so much, but our social media content is one post in a sea of hundreds of posts that everyone's looking at all the time. So you have to remember that, yes, it feels repetitive to you because you're looking at it all day, every day, but nobody else is. Love, love, love that. And that's a good kind of place to kind of wrap up for our interview today. So what's one final tip, whether it be SEO related, social media related, or just general business related, that you can leave us with today?
That's a great question. My biggest tip is to provide value with your content, and put that value everywhere you spend your time, whether it's on Instagram, on your blog, but provide value to your readers, and they will love you. Like, again, good business is good SEO. So good business people provide value for their clients.
I love that. Okay, so I also know that you have an SEO Made Simple webinar series that I think everyone's going to love. So can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. And once a month, it's normally like the last Thursday of every month. I go online for a webinar where I teach about a different aspect of SEO. This month, we're going to talk about how the design of your website affects your SEO. So there's a lot of nuances, and this is a great class for designers and developers so that they can provide more value to their clients. And if you want to sign up, I'll give you $25 off. The class is $99, but I'll give you a $25 discount if you use the code OnlineDrea.
So cool. So I'm going to put that link and the code in the show notes so you guys can sign up and use the code OnlineDrea for $25 off. Very generous, Meg. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So how do we connect with you online?
Oh, everything is Clapping Dog Media. So my website is Clapping Dog Media. On Instagram, I'm at Clapping Dog Media. And YouTube, I don't have enough followers yet to have my own YouTube URL. But if you search for YouTube, Clapping Dog Media on YouTube, you'll find me there as well.
Okay. Perfect. And I'll put the links too in case everyone wants to click on over. But that's all for today. Thanks so much, Meg, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Savvy Social Podcast. For links and everything we talked about, please check out the show notes by visiting savvysocialpodcast.com. And don't be afraid to continue the conversation. I'd love to have you inside of the Facebook group. You can search for us on Facebook or simply go to savvysocialcrew.com. See you there. Bye for now.